not to serve the people, but to serve the ruling party and GCOM, further damaging GCOM's credibility and reinforcing the view that the PPP is dead set on rigging the 2025 elections. Before the claims and objections period, the preliminary list of electors recorded 752,336 registered voters, with an approximation of 2,897 polling stations. Now, the revised list of electors shows an increase to 757,715 voters. Yet, GCOM has reduced the number of polling stations to 2,800, a cut of 97 polling stations. How does GCOM explain an increase in electors but a reduction in polling stations? This move will disproportionately affect rural and hinterland communities. It raises the specter of disenfranchisement through longer lines, confusion, and reduced access. Again, GCOM is making decisions not based on logic or fairness, but on political instructions from the PPP. This would not only encourage voter frustration, but many of the reductions are in the APNU strongholds. One of the clearest signs of electoral manipulation can be seen in the registration of hundreds of people at one address in several parts of this country. Before the claims and objections period, the PLE listed 215 individuals registered at a single residency in Ogle. By the time the RLE was published and released, that number increased to 223. Upon further inspection, it was discovered that all these individuals had ID numbers in direct numerical sequence, suggesting a bulk registration process. All were adult males with no families listed, and the address is not a hotel, dormitory, or any institutional residency. This is not just a red flag, it is a full blown alarm bell. The PP and its collaborators within the system are padding the voters list with phantom electors designed to rig the vote in targeted areas. This is systematic, this is dangerous, this is criminal.
Thank you. Mr. Kanish Michael.
PPP must desist from signing the corrupt deal between GPL and Interenergy Group, which will put GPL workers on the breadline. The APNU coalition has noted with deep concern and alarm the circulation of a draft public-private partnership agreement between the Guyana Power and Light Inc. and Interenergy Group Limited, dated June 26, 2025. This agreement is reportedly awaiting signatures of the chairman of the GPL board and Mr. Ronaldo Gonzalez Bunster, chairman of Interenergy Group. This corrupt deal has severe implications for the hundreds of hardworking staff employed by GPL and must be halted at once. This PPP agreement raises profound and troubling concerns for our country. One, secrecy and lack of transparency. The deal has appeared without any public consultations, parliamentary scrutiny, or open tender process. Such secrecy undermines democratic governance and public accountability and is clearly another PPP corrupt deal aimed at benefiting PPP's family, friends, and favorites. Two, risk of job losses and financial burdens. The agreement appears structured in a way that could see hundreds of GPL and PPDI employees being placed on the breadline, with severance and restructuring costs unfairly shifted onto Guyanese taxpayers. This is corrupt, unacceptable, and unjust. Foreign control and limited oversight. Interenergy Group, based on its prior record of accomplishment, has had significant operational issues, notably a reported 300% increase in power outages under its watch in Jamaica and serious allegations of fraud previously directed against its chairman. It is alarming that such a company would be granted broad control over Guyana's critical national energy infrastructure. particularly procurement and contractor selection. This is unacceptable and must be brought to an end at once. Given the gravity of these concerns, the APNU coalition urgently calls on the government of Guyana to immediately bring this corrupt deal to an end and take no further action on this matter since elections are scheduled for 1st of September 2025. Publish the full text of the agreement. Provide the public with the independent technical and financial assessment that was undertaken and the name of the company that undertook the assessment. Desist from engaging with any company or conducting any business on behalf of the people of Guyana, especially with significant implications for the workers of GPL and the people of Guyana. The PPPC has damaged our country way too much, and it is time to bring an end to it. To the dedicated staff of GPL, let us be unequivocally clear. Under an APNU led government, you have absolutely no reason to fear for your livelihoods. We are committed to protecting your employment, enhancing your salaries and wages and benefits, and ensuring that GPL becomes a strong and efficient entity. Starting September 2025, an APNU coalition government will ensure that GPL staff are still employed and receive improved working conditions reflective of their important role in powering our nation. Furthermore, the gas to energy project will be completed and effectively and efficiently managed under the APNU coalition government. There will be significantly reduced energy costs, new employment opportunities will be created, and we will strengthen national energy security. The time for backdoor deals, secrecy, and uncertainty is long gone. Guyanese deserve honesty, accountability, and transparency from their government. GPL employees deserve stability, respect, and improved conditions. Let us be clear, an APNU coalition government will put people first, protect local jobs, and deliver transparent, accountable, and responsible governance that secures the prosperity and dignity of every Guyanese.
Thank you. At this time, I'll open the floor for questions on the first statement. You do so by the raise of hand and stating your news agency. I'm
Good
not
morning,
sure.
Mr. Norton, Dennis Brown, Deborah Airwaves.
Good morning.
Sir, can you please say how do you envisage the enforcement of the rule against the taking of pictures of ballots at the upcoming elections?
Well, it's a simple matter. The person in the poll, responsible in the polling station, can ensure that no picture is taken. They're supposed to be vigilant in the polling place or the polling station, and obviously they won't be able to see what the person is voting, who the person is voting for, but they can see if the person take the phone and take out a picture.
You know, Dennis, if I may
But
add, Dennis, if I may
there
add,
will not be
it also requires GCOM to sensitize. It requires GCOM to educate. And it requires GCOM to play its role in ensuring that citizens understand that their vote is really their sacred obligation in choosing a government of their choice, and they don't do it under duress. So GCOM has a major role to play in empowering the voters to understand that you don't have to do that. And you should not do that. Your vote is your secret weapon of choosing a government that wants to deliver to you.
Well, what I'm trying to find out is how do you envisage GCOM not you can see whether a picture is taken, when in fact they would not even be able to see where you're putting your X.
While I sense you being in a polling station, and so you know that they can't see where you put in their X, but they can see if somebody takes a phone to take a picture. That seems simple to me. It's not like if the polling booth is be all around you, you can't see the body. You see the body, you can't see the vote.
Are you opposed to cell phones being taken into the polling booths?
If that can be done, I will be happy.
The reason I'm asking is because GCOM in 2023, I believe, had already taken a decision that cell phones are not prohibited in polling stations.
And that's why I give you the answer that I just gave. If it could happen, I would welcome it. But I'm also
Okay, so quickly, as I have the floor, so to speak, what's your reaction to Chevron now entering the startup block through its buyout of the Hess stake as upheld by the decision of the International Chamber of Commerce arbitration?
as I understand it, based on the agreement, any company can go to that international body for arbitration. And as I understand it, an arbitral award is final. I don't think it's a case for a view.
Thank you.
Right, do you see Chevron being a plus or a minus for Guyana coming into the sector?
That has to be analyzed properly before a pronouncement is made.
Thank you. Ms. Svetlana Marshall.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Martin and the other members of the table. You spoke about your manifesto. Could you maybe provide us with specifics with regards to fiscal measures, flagship projects, the education initiatives, and your plans for the oil and gas industry?
If I do that, I will take the sale out at the launch of the manifesto. You'll get it at the launch.
Well, you addressed it in your opening remarks, so this is an opportunity for me to get something more than what
in my opening remarks, we merely stated it's completed, and we stated the areas it will cover. So if you look at the thing, you will see the areas it will cover. But in terms of the details, that will be given at the manifesto launch.
And of course, if I may also add, Svetlana, you would recall at the launch of our campaign, several speakers spoke to social services that will be provided. Build up to the launch that is.
We're still open for questions on the press statement. I see the hand of.
Hi, good morning, Tammy from the Guyana Times. Can you guys say if the manifesto will be including a 100-day plan, similar to how the 2015 manifesto that the APNU release was? And if so, what are the plans, if you do include 100-day plans, how will you ensure that these 100-day plans go through, unlike what happened under the last APNU manifesto?
I don't know what you're talking about, what happened under the last manifesto. You seem to have predetermined. But all I would say to you and the manifesto.
I meant the case that several.
I'll open the floor this time for all questions.
I'm sorry, was the question answered? I didn't hear, the screen froze.
Let me repeat for you. When the manifesto is out, all that is in the manifesto will be seen.
I see the hand of Mr. Adam Harris.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I had a torrid time joining in and I've missed quite a few. Common leader, I have not been able to see your list of candidates. Well, are you in a position to say what prompted your selection?
There are a number of factors that prompted our selection. One, we wanted youth. Two, we wanted geographic spread. Three, we wanted professional competence. Four, we wanted some grassroots persons so that the group doesn't lose touch with the reality on the ground. We wanted experience, so there are some experienced people there. We wanted to ensure that the list reflects the nature of the country, meaning there is ethnic mix. And unlike some other political parties, we wanted no criminal elements on our list.
Let me add to what leader said. I mean, he was kind enough to say that we want no criminal elements on our list. I was listening yesterday to Jagdeo saying, in fact, I think I read it in Guyana Chronicle, that the PPP list of candidates, it's dynamic and diverse. And that was the headline I saw in the newspaper. But when you take a look at the PPP's list, and I did so this morning very early before coming to press conference, the first name on the PPP's list is Jason Abdullah. You just got to go and Google Jason Abdullah, and you will see it will come up that one, he's a convict, and we know what he was involved in terms of that whole shenanigans that that also involved Freddie Kissoon, and we remember that quite well. Another name on the PPP's list is Alistair Charlie, and Alistair Charlie was charged for rape. Just Google it, and you will see that too. Another name on the list is Nigel Dharamlal. He had several rape allegations against him, and in fact, we know of the famous story, or the infamous story, surrounding the indigenous young lady, and he was actually removed from office. Another name is Kwame McCoy. Just Google these names. Kwame McCoy is a convict also. He was accused also for engaging in what I may say sexual promiscuity. And we remember that famous name, Julius. The little boy, I think it was Mark Benchcop, that was walking around the entire Georgetown playing the conversation between Kwame McCoy and Julius on tape. We have Vikash Ramkisoon, another name on his list, also accused of sexual molestation. A simple Google of these names, you will see these things showing up. He has Berry Ramsaran. Berry Ramsaran, remember, wanted to strip and slap, I think it was Charlene Najir, if that's the correct name. So this is indeed quite a dynamic and diverse list. Very dynamic and diverse list the PPP has. You Google these names, and this is just a short, this is just a few. I can go down the line. I see Lionel Wordsworth name is on their list. Lionel Wordsworth was accused of fraud. I think it was in 2012 when he was CEO of NDIA. Today he sits as chairman of the same NDIA. A very dynamic, a very diverse, and a very fraudulent list indeed Barrett Jagdeo has. Thank you.
Welcome. I see the hand of Mr. Ryan. Are you hearing me?
He has posted a question. He said his mic isn't working.
Oh,
His question is,
go ahead.
at his press conference yesterday, PPP General Secretary Barrett Jagdeo made reference to an incident whereby some APNU supporters were harassing a PPP supporter, and he had called for an apology. Are you aware of such an incident, and what is your response?
The man is a pathological liar. 3 PPP persons, as is reported to me, because we were at the time presenting our lists, went in maliciously into the group of supporters of the APNU. Before, there were meetings with the commander, and it was established that we will be at different points, so there will be no clashes. Out of the blues, 3 PPP persons in PPP outfit went into the APNU group. Clearly, they were seeking to provoke the APNU group in the hope that they will try to chase them out or something to that effect. The PPP at the same time had their drone flying over the APNU team with the hope that that will happen. Of course, the leadership in the APNU that was out there, particularly Christopher Jones, dealt with it properly, called on the police to remove them and asked them to leave, and they went back to Red House, which is controlled by the PPP, and they did not succeed in creating any confusion. I want to make it very clear that as the PPP loses ground, it is going to do everything to ensure that there is ethnic conflict. We are happy that we handle it in a matured way, and Barra Jagdeo cannot help himself. If he doesn't lie, his blood wouldn't flow.
Thank you. I see the hand of Miss Khadija, I believe it is. Starbrook News.
Hello, good morning. Khadija from Starbrook News. Ms. Norton, 2 questions. I would like some, if you can, I'd like some more information on what was discussed with the Carter Center yesterday. I know your statement said that you met with them, but I just wanted to know if you'd be willing to give any specifics as it relates to what was discussed. And secondly, the PPP has, over the past 5 years, promised a long list of reports that the guidance people are, long list of reports. For example, the 2023 helicopter crash report, we have the census, and a lot of those other sorts of reports that, of things that we're expecting. Should the APNU get into power in September, what plans are in place, or are there any intentions to work on having these reports released?
Let me deal with the first one. We briefed the Carter Center on the extant situation. We point out to them that the process of rigging the elections is already unfolding. We give them clear information on the behavior of the government. We pointed out to the Carter Center that under the Carter formula, the chairman of the Elections Commission was supposed to be an impartial conciliator rather than an arbiter, and she has voted with the PPP every time, becoming an arbiter and undermining the intent of the Carter formula. We have shown them all of the mechanisms that the PPP are putting in place to rig the election, and we pointed out to them that we hope they play a positive role, because rig elections at this stage will have serious consequences. As it relates to reports, you would recall that before we came to government, even with the oil and with the oil contract, it was we who actually put it in the public domain. The PPP doesn't have a history of providing reports. We believe in transparency and accountability, and you can look forward to key reports being laid in the parliament and placed in the public domain at the right time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Shabral, is your hand up, or is this remaining from your last question? And same for Ms. Garnett, is your hand up?
My hand is up.
Go ahead.
I have, my first question is pertaining to the procedure for the upcoming elections. Does Mr. Norton, is there any, is the APNU considering any joiner list for, with the given parties that are contesting? Our next question is, does the party have any concern that Mr. Mohammed from the WIN party appears to be pulling votes from the APNU or pulling from the APNU support base? Given some of the turnout we've seen at his rallies and at his nomination day that he had gathered that he had. I'll start with those two questions.
Let's start with polling votes. I don't know they had any vote in a nomination day. And from the evidence that is available, a lot of people there went there for the money. You must go back to the local government election where the PPP felt they had all of this support in Georgetown and Linden. And then what happened is that the people collected their money and then they voted APNU. We think the same will happen. You also spoke about supporters attending his rally. I don't know that he had any rally, but we are not worried about that. We know to do our political work, and we will do our political work. As it relates to joinder, we have not been involved in any joinder at least up to this stage with anyone.
I want to add my voice to the Mohammed question. First of all, I also want to put on record that we looked at his candidates list, and given our analysis, it shows about 72% of the candidates on his list come from constituencies that are normally won by the People's Progressive Party. Constituencies that are normally won. So you may have a big region like Region 10, and we remember in 2020 elections, that region showed 3,000 votes for the PPP and 19,000 votes for the APNU. So, and when you look specifically where his candidates in that region comes from, it comes from an area that the PPP is known to get their 3,000 votes from. And the other areas, when you look at them also, those constituencies that you have polling stations, there is where the PPP normally would attract their votes. So we're not worried about him. What I wanted to say to the Guyanese people that I have said on a Facebook post is that we have seen how these parties, these small parties, these Johnny Now Come Lately parties operate. And oftentimes they fool the electorate and they demonstrate some degree of independence and they demonstrate some degree of care and concern as though they're a fresh breath of air. And records will show that every one of them, well, virtually every one of them, have in their aftermath of securing votes from people under the disguise of being independent, end up being in bed with the People's Progressive Party. We see that from Manzoor Nadir. Manzoor Nadir was UF, and after he became popular in the UF, attracted a lot of indigenous votes, he then became a PPP and sat in the last National Assembly as the Speaker. We see it from Lennox Schumann. He is now a candidate on the list of the PPP. You remember in 2020, he ran as independent. He chastised the PPP significantly, making several claims. We saw the operations of Asha Kisoon, how she operated in Parliament, and then we saw how she usurped the seat illegally, so to speak, knowing that she had a joined arrangement. Another person that I guess is a part of the, what's the word, dynamic and diverse list of candidates of the PPP. And we know what she is known for, given what she has said. She said it is, what, politics, not church? But I don't know politics to be as evil as how she wanted to demonstrate it. And I don't think it is going to be any way different with the Mohammeds. Azzuddin Mohammed and Irfan Ali were best friends. They shared a good relationship. We remember the 2020 elections. We saw which vehicle, after Irfan Ali was sworn in, which vehicle he jumped in. We saw and heard and know of conversations that Azudin himself put out, indicating the relationship and messaging on WhatsApp and what's not. All I am saying is that the people of Guyana should not gamble with their vote. And evidence has shown that very well so, Azadin Mohammed could go down as an Asha Kisoon, as a Lennox Schumann, as a Manzoor Nadir. And the people should be very careful as to how they vote, and they should ensure that they vote wisely. There's only one political movement that is focused on putting people first, that is focused on giving a better life to the Guyanese people, and that is the APNU. And I trust the Guyanese people will be smart in the way they vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
A follow-up, please. Do you have any concrete evidence that Mr. Mohammed is indeed engaging in financial inducements for support?
Well, it is reported to us, and we take those reports to be credible. But for us, the focus shouldn't be on Mohammed. The focus should be on getting rid of the PPP.
Thank you.
And don't you think that if you were to secure some votes, that this can lead to a shoo-in for you into the presidency or entire control of the presidents of the executive and the legislature?
I don't believe in speculating. I believe in doing our political work to achieve our desired objective.
All right. I believe Mr. Brian is next. And see him.
Brian question reads, a follow-up on Tamika's question. There are some former APNU MPs who've crossed over to Mohammed's camp, including Natasha St. Louis and Tabitha Sarabuhali. Are you concerned about the perception this creates?
Well, I don't know what perception it can create, so I wouldn't be worried. What I can say to you is that we have been doing our work with our base is intact, and we are moving forward. We're not going to be distracted by anyone who would have moved. Everyone is entitled to choose the political party they chose it. They like losing, so we have no problem with that.
Mr. Adam Harris, you have your hand up.
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Now, Comrade Leader, you have been campaigning largely in your stronghold and what have you. What has been the extent of your work in some of the PDP strongholds, like parts of the Essequibo Coast, like parts of East Coast Demerara, and what has been the response?
The response has been extremely good. If you look at when we were in the Essequibo engaging rice farmers and people in the Essequibo, you would see the response. We went to Bushlat a while back, and we had very good response. And Bushlat, both places on the quarantine and in West Coast Babis. We have been visiting those communities, though Little Africa sounds like a black community. Just recall that we visit Little Africa where the Indian population is extremely large. We had very good support, and it's a result of our visit that the government ran in after and provide roads, etc. So the response in the Indo-Guyanese and the indigenous community have been positive. I want to say this to you. Any political party that has political sense will first consolidate its base, which we have been doing, and then move out into other areas to extend our influence. And so that is where we are.
Thank you. Ms. Tamika Garnett. I'm sorry. All right, I guess her hand was up.
Hi, yeah, sorry about that. I'm moving away from the elections for a minute. I want to ask a question about Mr. Nomad, the party's rent to own housing plan. What analysis have you done to figure out the cost per persons that persons would have to pay on across what period? And has the party determined what happens if people default? Will the government be taking on the responsibilities of taking persons to court? And is there any concerns about that becoming tedious? Outside that question, I noticed that the party also has a commemoration for the linen marchers, the 3 persons that died in 2012. Can you say if the APNU government ever paid the $77 million settlement to the families, as was reached in July 2020, just before the government, or the APNU government was handed over to the people?
Let me start with payment of this settlement. As you're aware, the court case began under the PPP. It took many years. They didn't have the result. And when the result came, it came to the end of our government, and the PPP has not paid them as yet. Now, rent to own. Rent to own is not new. Some people might be too young to remember, but in some regards, South Renvelt and many of them were forms of rent to own, where the government built the houses and people paid for those houses, and when they finished, it became theirs. So I'm kind of optimistic. We will put mechanisms in place to ensure that the people who obtain those houses can afford to pay for them. Let us not forget, we're saying as part of our people-centered development strategy, there will be a livable income. We're also saying very clearly that we want to house people, and therefore there should be no real concern about people paying for those houses. They will be able to, because our main aim is to improve the lives of the people, put money in their pockets, and allow them the opportunity to live a much better quality life than they are living now. And so we will pursue that and achieve success.
Thank you. I see the hand of Mr. Antonio Day.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Norton. My question to you, sir, the PDP at their recent manifesto consultation said that they are going to revitalize the bauxite industry. Well, I would like to know if APNU is, once the APNU is elected to government, what are your plans to revitalize this sector, if any?
Well, it is not solely revitalizing the bauxite industry. It is also using the oil resources to ensure you can get involved in the development of a smelter, so you're not just sending raw aluminum out of the country. As I understand it, the market for those products are increasing, and so we will expand the sugar, the bauxite industry. May I also add that in our plan, we're not focusing solely on the bauxite industry. Linden has to be diversified as well. And so we believe, for instance, that we can develop a proper tile industry. Linden has some of the best soils, clay to do tiles, etc. So we have also said we will promote sustainable agriculture in all regions, which will include Linden. We think there is scope for that there. There is also scope for us to use a lot of young people into digitalize Linden and Guyana so that information becomes much more accessible, etc. So there are a plethora of things that we will do to increase bauxite production and probably another bauxite company or so, and diversify the economy of Region 10, particularly Linden.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adam Harris.
Yes, my question has to do with Region 7. Now, your prime ministerial candidate comes from Region 7, and she was said to be doing a lot of work there. At the same time, a former mayor, Gifford Marshall, somebody whom I knew, seems to have dropped out and have gone over to the PPP. In Region 7, have you noticed any movement in one way or another as it should affect the party?
Not really. Gifford, again, hasn't been active in the party since 2020. I can't recall, from the time he was no longer mayor, he was not active in the party. And even while he was mayor, to the end of it, he wasn't very active. And so we don't expect that he will have any impact on our constituency. Let us not forget that in these elections, people vote for a political party, not for individuals. And so we anticipate that our support base will continue to support the APNU.
One other question. You seem to be really stomping the ground. What has been the physical effect of such an action on you and people like Ganesh and the others, Shanika, all those who have been really beating the ground consistently over the past couple of weeks?
You know, sometimes people miss when you're beating the ground, you're also exercising. So it has a positive impact.
But Adam, it's not now we have been on the ground. I think since Leader Norton took the leadership of this party, and even before that, his track record speaks volume about being in the nook and cranny, being in the on the ground, going to people, interacting. I remember campaigning with him in 2011 when we were all over the place. I remember he was dealing with Region 3, Wakenham, Leg 1. Talk about Oriala, talk about the Rupununi, Kaikumbe, Hiowa. All of these are places that he has touched over the years that I've been associated in the party with him. So going on the ground is nothing new for him. And it is not only now we're doing this, we have always been doing it. And since he became a leader, I think almost all weekends from then to now, he has been in some community interacting and being on the ground, meeting the people. And that is what is guaranteeing us the confidence that we currently present to you and the public, that we have no fear in these elections. We are going to win these elections because the people know what we stand for, what we have been saying to them all the time, and they know that they have one way of assuring themselves of a better life, and that is voting for the APNU.
Thank you.
And the indigenous communities have been accused of flip-flopping and all manner of things. You get the impression that they'll vote for you and then they vote elsewhere and all of this. Now, Region 1 seemed to be one of the places that was moving away from the PPP. Can you confirm that kind of belief in Region 1? And what have you been doing to ensure that that shift continues?
You know, we are on the dawn of probably the first indigenous prime minister in this country. She's making the rounds and is impacting. We believe when she visits Region 1, there will be the good response that she's gotten. She was in the Pomeroon, and in the Pomeroon, she had an extremely good response. She will head to Region 1 and 9, and we anticipate that our presence will help to increase the support. We have been doing our work, we'll continue to do our work, and I can say to you, we think the indigenous peoples are shifting away. Apart from our candidate, this is probably the first elections that indigenous people have had for 4 to 5 years access to social media. Remember, in government, we put a lot of those hubs, internet hubs in the interior. And so this election will be the first time that a lot of these indigenous community will be hearing from people outside of the PPP. And therefore, we think we will do much better in those communities because they are wiser. They cannot be easily fooled because they can check it themselves and know what is happening.
And Adam, additionally, the hinterland regions, which are the regions with the dominant indigenous population, they also have the evidence to show, for example, after 23 years of rule of the PPP, Mabaruma never had proper road, proper electricity, and proper water. 2015 to 2020, that was delivered without oil. And a township, Mabaruma was declared a township. Then we have Letem, same. The first set of concrete roads, proper roads as a matter of fact, came to let them under the coalition. And all of this was done without oil. They remember Madia and even Bartica. All of these central communities, these central areas in the hinterland regions were beginning to thrive and develop under the coalition. And that is a direction that our APNU coalition will also continue to modernize these hinterland regions so that the coastland and the hinterland region will not be, they will not have a gap. They will equally and equitably benefit from the resources to develop the people's lives. It's all about putting people first.
Thank you. And if there is one final question, I'll take that. If not,
Marshall, just a follow-up to my question. I got cut off while you were responding. But could you say when the manifesto will be launched?
We will announce the date shortly. We don't want to announce it prematurely. We have already prepared. It is heading to the printers. And once we get those back, we will launch the manifesto.
all right. Thank you. I want to take this time to thank our media personnel for joining today's press conference, and of course, all of the viewing audience and all of our social media platforms on YouTube, etc. We want to thank you for joining today, and we do hope you have a wonderful weekend. And don't forget to join us in Melanie on the east coast of Demerara, July 20th, for our East Coast Rally, which begins at 6 p.m.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata Francis Wakenham, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my X next to the cup, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
Sit there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su? Oh, Su. My relationship?